Hello, friends. We have got another episode of the Jenna Michelle show coming up here. I'm gonna send. We got Trevor in the house tonight. I'm really excited. And yeah, just the link. He'll be here in just a minute. Trevor and I connected through a mutual friend. Actually, Greg. I'm rocking my Pray Phone hat today too. So shout out to Greg, who's Pray Phone is part of the art exhibit gallery here in Olympia. I believe I'm remembering correctly and saw your post this morning and just beyond excited about what you're creating there and was rocking my Pray Phone hat. And so we have a mutual friend in Greg, and I met Trevor probably, I don't know, 6 or so months ago. And his partner KJ, and I hope to have her on the show here soon. And he is all things yoga, body, movement, mindfulness. I like to call him, I don't want to say like mine as in like it is, I don't want to like claim him as mine. And for me, he shows up as my yoga thirst trap as this experience. And in my Instagram feed, Trevor shows up, and I love Trevor. And what he's done to work, sculpt, build his body it's a masterpiece. And so being able to watch him do his work on Instagram, I'm always like leaning in, like, I want to do some yoga. Also his partner KJ, same thing. She is a instructor with pole fitness, and watching her do her magic and her artistry for me is also like, oh, I'm gonna lean in. And so they both expand my wellness and my desire for flexibility and mind, body, movement, wellness, all the things. And so I'm excited for Trevor to join us here in just a minute. And to get us started, I am learning, I didn't do this on my last episode, and I want to like pause for just a minute before Trevor gets in. And why I like to do that and why I'm doing that for myself is I really want to experience this conversation from my body. And there's such a different experience when we're in our body compared to our brain. And this cognitive experience, I also see it tied in with polyvagal and operating from parasympathetic coming from the body compared to this energetic buzz in the brain. And so I'm going to take a couple breaths. I'm going to invite you to do the same as we begin this and just tapped into this wellness energy with Trevor, who helps me lean into this all the more. So I'm going to take a couple breaths. It is wild how distinct energetically that energy up here was to where I'm at now, just with 2-3 breaths. It's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna let Trevor in. Trevor Taylor.
What's up?
Gosh, I'm so excited. Also, I was rocking my Pray Phone hat today too, so I felt like that was a good nod to Greg for introducing us today. And I'm like, this is my new uniform. It's like black tank top, my Pray Phone hat, and just that's my summer. Like, you know how CEOs wear the same thing every day. I'm like, this. I want
Yep.
this CEO outfit, that kind of thing.
That's a good look. The black and white is a great contrast. And look at this space. Yo, these windows are incredible.
Thank you. Yes, I got out that way. Yeah.
You got the corner. Oh,
Yeah, it's a 3-month lease. And for me, it's this experience of processing the divorce with selling the house. I'm like, I'm going to love my heart and just do this and grounded into this new season. And I have no clue where I'm going to be at in the world next. So just give myself some extra love and care. And I don't know if you can see, I have my yoga mat here.
come on.
And so I pretty much just have it in the middle of my space. And so that's really what sparked wanting to lean in here is it's like, I have my yoga mat here. I have this practice, which I don't have an actual name for it yet. And I really like, it's just putting music on and like yoga-esque moves and like dancing and yoga and like mixing it all together. So I do love that personally. And I do want to lean into yoga more, and there has always been some resistance. So I was wanting to invite you into this and mindfulness, and just watching you. I actually said this before I introduced you. I was like, he's my yoga thirst trap on Instagram, and always leaning me into wanting to gain more strength and flexibility, and the mastery that you have for the body is an inspiration to
Yeah.
me. And yeah, so with that, to jump us in, I would love to hear you share anything that comes alive for you, your path journey, life before, life now, life after, whatever's there for you. I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. So one, I'm a yoga thirst trap, so I appreciate that. No, I'm grateful that you are encouraged to take on this journey. And let me encourage you, already practicing yoga. Like what you're doing is already yoga. What many people, including myself, when I first started, we consider yoga to be like the stretching, the poses, all the stuff on the mat. I realized that yoga and its word, like the origin of the word yoga means unity.
Hmm.
Like let that settle in for a second. It just means unity.
Okay.
And so when people practice yoga, they're practicing the unification, the ascension of duality,
Hmm.
realizing that you're separate. There's this mind and body, you versus me, good versus bad. Like we stop judging everything, and we just unify with it.
I love that. And it's just the shift, even just in that, like my brain's like yoga equals downward dog. And like to have you say yoga is ascending duality. I'm like, that's the practice I'm in all the time. It actually sparked me to something that I forgot completely about, that it's was Jesus was someone that did a yoga of action. And I was like, ooh, I like that. Like yoga of action and that embodiment of being in motion and leaning in and taking action. Also, Hank will actually get on my yoga mat and do downward dog. It's really funny. He'll
You just did it. That was a good one. Hey,
just
look, you need to take lessons from him.
no, exactly. I'll like get when I was at my place before or my other place, I'd put my yoga mat out and he'd do his downward dog first before I went and did it.
Yes. And the beautiful thing about it is if we watch animals enough, we realize like we should take a note from them. He's doing that because his body is uncomfortable. So he
Mm-hmm.
stretches, bring
Mm-hmm.
comfort. That's what all of the poses are for.
Mm.
So I want to bring some ease to
Mhm.
your practice and know that like the poses, the asanas, simply to bring comfort to the body.
Mm. And that's something I don't associate with. Here's this pose, and comfort is not comfort is not the tied language I would use between that pose and that. Yeah.
No, and that's why it's a practice. The yogic practice, the asana portion is all about building strength, flexibility, and balance in the body so that you can reach a state of comfort.
Mm, clear.
When we're in a stretch and you hold that stretch for a while, you're like, oh, this hurts so good.
Mm,
Because by the end of it, when you've let go of that pressure, you've let go of that strain or that intentional stretching,
mm.
you can relax. Like the body physically relaxes.
Okay, so you're saying as you lean in, the body will eventually relax into that comfort. So there's a degree of allowing the resistance and waiting for the other side of that to be there. I'm hearing it like lean in, wait, allow, and on the other side is that release. Is that
Yes. Lean in and breathe.
mm.
Scratch that. Breathe and lean in.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right, that's the key. Is we don't want to lean in and then start catching ourselves holding our breath. But if the main focus is the breath, right? Well, then you allow yourself to ease into the pose,
Mhm.
and
Mm.
that's the importance of having blocks, props. But outside of that, it's
Mhm.
about the connection to your body.
Mhm.
To say how far is too far. Do I know the edge, and can I play with the balance between effort and ease?
Hmm. Can play with the balance between effort and ease. Okay. That's fun. Like I don't have that context. So when I'm doing this, it's just like yoga, downward
Mhm.
dog. It's not like it's not there's like play there and just this creative expression that I've never
Yeah.
experienced. Yeah.
It's the playground. That's why you treat the mat as your playground. And I say playground because we've all been in elementary in some way. We were all kids. So this analogy works. Before recess, kids in the classroom are quite rambunctious. Like the morning, they might start off cool, but by the time like they right before lunch, the teacher and everybody in the classroom is like, I need you all to get out and go play. But then after that playful time, right? Like kids go out to the playground, they on the swing set, they're on the monkey bars, they're running around playing tag, doing whatever they feel like doing. When they come back inside, what do they typically do? Sit down and chill, ready to learn, ready to ready to be still. So what the Yoga Sutras teaches us, which is the ancient text, is all of the shapes and poses, the asanas, is to bring stability and comfort to the body so that you can sit still and do the real work. You know, it's really difficult to meditate when your hip is in pain, your knees a little pinched up, your back tight, and you're like, I can't even focus on breathing. My body hurts. So we play. We get on the mat, we move.
And I really hear there's such we're so trained from that school being left brain to be so disconnected from the body. So just that practice of even starting can be really challenging. And for me personally too, being connected into the neurodivergent space, it's this don't make me, I don't want to, and that resistance inside of me. And so that play and giving my brain something to chew on as I'm doing it, and just like breathe, lean in, and then where's that edge, and then actually giving my brain something active to be leaning into. I don't know, there's just like a target that's there compared to just this space that I felt has been yoga. And also too, there's this it's done kind of coming through where it's like I already am, and how can I expand? And being able to do that is really powerful too, as it is, unity, ascending duality. And how can I do it in a way that love care serves my body? And it's just wild. We live in this Western world that it's like to work out is such a stress motivated experience. And so how could you actually slow it down? And there's a degree of the word that's coming through is seductive, like this experience that is very like sultry, that is this powerful experience that we are lacking because we are such a like that. And it's like, no, like where can we bring this down slow and actually play with this? So there's something in that I'm really excited about. And your partner KJ inspires the shit out of me with so much that she creates too. I'm like, I want to do some strength exercises just watching her every single time. Her strength is outrageous.
So much power and grace in one being. Like it's
yes. So between the two of you, I'm always inspired of like, okay, I want to get started and have the space now. So definitely leading in.
Yeah. And I think to find the way that you like to play is the most important part so that you can take care of the body. Like don't go into any type of movement exercise that you don't enjoy, because now you have you're not ascending duality, you're leaning towards one or the other.
Yeah.
I don't care what my mind says, mind over matter, gotta push through the pain. What? No, totally wrong. Totally wrong. Fucked it up. Missed the whole mark.
Yeah.
From one extreme to the other. Because when people push through the pain, they've now completely disregarded the mind. And then when people have shame about working out, they're all in the head and never in the body. So yoga is unity. We bring the two together. How can I get the mind and body to come alongside and say, we enjoy this? And it's a challenge, but this is fun.
There's really movement and enjoyment. Fun has never been a conversation, like has never been in the same realm of conversation. And this is definitely unlocking a lot there. And as I understand too with yoga, that harmony and bringing it within, and for me personally, I mean, I value it now just with the context I have, and it's not something culturally we're taught to value. And I will say now that I value it, there's a degree of, I don't want to say like life and death per se, and there's a degree of function and complete dysfunction once you discover what unity feels like. And so it's very hard to, like, everything else just doesn't feel good. And so there's a degree of, okay, I want to expand into this, have more stability, have more groundedness, have more expression in here. And that, yeah, this leaning into yoga has been a desire. And there's so much in my head that keeps coming up that's like, I don't, so there's all that. And so the other thing is too, you said this is the A word. Is it the poses?
Asana.
Asana. Okay. So there's a
Yeah.
handful of yoga words that I hear and I know nothing about. And so is there a handful of
Okay.
like common ones that you hear so I can sound it out clearly?
Yeah. And I say asana to really distinguish the difference between yoga from what culturally we understand yoga as, and asana, which is what we think yoga is.
Clear.
Asana is just poses,
So asana
shapes.
poses, and then the cultural. So to clarify, there's a cultural definition of yoga that we have Western world, is what you're saying.
And that's what we think are just poses. And
Okay.
people get on the mat and they're like, I did my yoga today. And you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you did asana,
clear.
which is great.
Yes.
But that is one of 8 limbs of yoga.
And I hear in that too, it's like, here's my 30, 40, 60-minute yoga. And it's this time and this space and it's this thing. And you're like, that's not yoga, is what I'm hearing.
That's a piece of it.
Piece of it, clear.
That's an essential part of it.
Uh-huh.
Because if the body is not comfortable, how can we ever find balance in the mind? This is a I put like if I stand on one leg and I can't stand up straight, I know I know I need to work on my balance. If I try to get my mind to say, am I balanced? My mind will play tricks all day long. Yeah, we're balanced, except for that one thing, but we got that fixed out. So no, don't even worry about that. But there is a lot that we could. Let me start with the easy part, the one that gives me instant um, feedback, the body.
Yeah, yeah.
There's pain. The body will say, I don't like this.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Yep.
I'm lacking some strength. I will know. The body will tell me.
I hear almost like kind of like when you like hit a funny bone or whatever the move where it like has an instant reaction. Like you can't bullshit reality. Like you're left with proof on the table. And so the degree of like it really doesn't matter what you think, what's actually in reality and what
You
do you
feel
want to actually do. Yeah. And there's a degree of, yes, you can bullshit your way forever and dance around it. And what do you actually want in life? And what do you want long term? And I know for me personally, I would like a body that feels good and not be left with medication or having me cut open because I disregarded my body for however X many years. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no. So there's a degree of how can you start now so that compound effect is there later. As it doesn't get easier. And that's something, I think it's a Joe Dispenza quote too, where it's like, once you're at a certain age, you're just a set of programs. And so I'm very eager to like, I want to learn it as soon as I can, because the longer I wait, the more to uncover and then build up is twice as hard. So that's also to the motivation and get the shit together now, because it doesn't get easier. Not to get shit together, it's just discover it while it's still where you're at compared to kicking it down the road.
Yeah, be willing to learn and unlearn now, because it's easier to recreate patterns when they're fresh. But if you allow them to stretch on for 10, 20, 30 years, that's a lot of unlearning to do. And it's almost cemented. That's why they say, oh, people have such a hard time changing their mind. I don't believe that they can't change. I think the mind is always developing and can always be sharpened.
Yep.
However, when it's been a long time,
I hear cement.
you went from working with Play-Doh and now you're working with stone.
Yeah, like marble. I'm like, you can still like chisel it out and like you can, and it's just there's effort, there's definite effort.
A lot
And
of
I really, really love that, that kids' brains is Play-Doh and whatever phases you would want to create this season. That's a really powerful thing. It's like, okay, I'm still pliable. How can I leverage my pliability compared to when I'm in marbled stone that had never did yoga, or not necessarily, we're always doing it, never leaned into the practices. And so the asana is one word. I also want to hear the 8 limbs that you're mentioning too.
Yeah.
And any other of the words that I hear that I just like, people say it like I'm supposed to know.
Right. So we'll talk about the 8 limbs because that'll cover a few other words. So the first two limbs are essentially the 10 commandments of yoga.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we have the yamas and the niyamas,
Okay. How's that different?
5 on one side and 5 on the other.
What's the word sounded the same.
I know. It is the only thing is you add ni.
Okay.
Yamas, niyamas.
Yamas, yamas,
Niyamas. Like ni.
niyamas. Okay, yamas and niyamas.
Mhm.
Clear.
The yamas are how you interact with the world around you. And then the niyamas are how you deal with self.
Oh, so 5 external, 5 internal.
Mhm.
Okay.
And they also kind of overlap. So it's beautiful. Like for one of them, we practice saucha, which is cleanliness.
Hmm.
So you take care of your space,
Hmm.
the outer and the inner.
Hmm.
So if there's some decluttering, we need to minimalize the things around us and within us. We practice cleanliness. We practice saucha.
Hmm.
And that's a simple everyday task of like, hey, is my space organized? Do I feel like I can function in my room? Right. I have space to think. And then also, now that I've taken care of that, is my inner space feel decluttered or is my mind racing?
Hmm.
And if so, can I organize my thoughts?
Hmm.
Well, it's all saucha, just cleanliness. Find some organization. Take care of yourself.
I love how you say that. And the way I've seen it too is like my brain is, I'll see on my counter. Like I can literally see my brain based on how my counter looks. That's going to be as within, so without. And the commitment of space. And for me, it's always, I have actually this part of my practice and my offering that I'll be formulating with Real Life Whole Life is finding the language for values. So for me, it's not cleaning, it's creating space. And when I say creating space, instantaneously, my body's like, this goes here, this goes here. Like it's an impulse compared to cleaning. My body will never be impulsed to clean. Absolutely never. And creating space, that's my deepest core value. And then with that, my brain operates more better. I have space clear, and then I can show up and actually have expression. And so there's a religious aspect at times to a clean counter because I know that my brain is going to be in a complete alignment to what that counter looks like.
See, it already feels good from the mind and body because then when you're able to see that clean counter, you're able to relax the body and say, oh, okay, that,
Yep.
that feels good.
Yep.
And when we say it, a lot of times we don't realize what we're saying is that when we say it feels good, that's because the body like spoke for it. So it spoke up and was like, yeah, it does. Like I'm able to relax. And then the mind is like, oh, thank God. Like it's decluttered.
It's like I'm just present to the privilege of even being aware that the body feels good. Like how rare and unique that we have people that can slow down, the privilege to even be to have that awareness of being like, oh no, my body actually like it's just that's not common language, and the gift that that is, and how that's something I'm committed to in helping people discover how to embody, because it is going from complete dissociation because of the way we're programmed to how do I be embodied. That divide in between is a battle. And for me, a lot too with the conversation around yoga, like this going from this to what we projected as yoga is such a battle. And so leaning into those different practices and whatnot is definitely speaking to me. Okay, so we got through the first two. I will
Yeah.
probably
So the
derail.
first two limbs, yamas, niyamas.
Okay.
Um, those are your 10 commandments. Those 1 and 2 limbs done. The third limb, this is what everybody knows. Yoga, the asanas.
Okay.
These are the poses. So the thing is, after you've taken care of how you interact with the world and you've taken care of how you interact with yourself, well, now you take care of the body. So do the shapes and poses that feel called to you, the ones that nourish your body, because you know your body better than anyone else does. So the expectation is that you'll do what it takes to take care of yourself. And if you don't know where to start, you find a teacher, a guide, someone who can offer you suggestions in the poses, but they're not demands.
Mm-hmm.
I always start every class with that statement. You know your body better than anyone else in the room does. My expectation is that you'll take care of yourself because I don't know what's going on in your body. So if you need a prop, grab
Mm-hmm.
a prop because you deserve support. If
Mm-hmm.
you need to take another pose because you're starting to get a little overwhelmed, take a child's pose, ease down. You don't have to stay with the collective. You can be an individual in this practice. This is an ancient self-care practice. So take care of yourself.
Can we take a moment by that whatever did you just see the rainbow that you had going
The
on?
light.
That was so good. We found the pot of gold. Okay, with that, the experience of what showed up was so the experience of you knowing you're like this is the way we do yoga teaching, that whole kind of thing where it's like, yeah, you're supposed to know more about my body than I know about my body. Like, how in the world could that even be physically possible on the planet? So the degree of like, no, if you don't know about your body, there's 0.0 chance someone's going to know more than you about your body. Like, there's just let that go.
Supposed to help you. You don't even know how. Where do we start?
Exactly. If you don't know where to start, how am I supposed to know how to start? Like,
If I ask you, what do you want to work on today? You say, I don't really know. My body feels good, but it doesn't feel good. I'm like, well, help me, help you, help us.
Yep. I mean, you're the teacher. You're just supposed to tell me what to do. It's like,
I'm the guide. I
yes, yes.
offer suggestions. I'm like, hey, we can go this way if you want to go this way, but you don't have to go this way.
And really here, there is a degree of embodied presence and this authenticity of being able to say what's real. And even that real piece could be, I don't know. And it's like, okay, well, where do you start then? Like, at least you're authentic with saying you don't know compared to looking out there and being like, well, just tell me, I need to know. And
Right.
that ability to lean into that. And I can pin this question later too. What works for me is threes and all this stuff. If there's like three basic, I guess now it may be three basic asana, is that the word? Poses that are just like, my brain can't think. What's like three you could just drop, like I can just drop into if I just get my body flowing and started.
Boom. And so if you're asking that question, my favorites, cat cow.
Oh.
Start with cat cow. This is like a massage to the spine.
Mm.
And the cool thing is, if the spine is also where a lot of our nervous system and it's like the highway for communication throughout the body, then let's start with clearing the way so that there's some ease in the spine. Make some space in the vertebrae when they've been compressed
I
so
feel that.
long. So we start with cat cow. That works from the tailbone to the top of the head. You're like, okay, do a little arch here, do a little arch there. You do that a few times. And then I even tell people, take one ear, go towards that same hip. And now you're doing side bend. So now it's like a cat cow, like kind of like a snake. You're just moving your spine in all the beautiful ways in which it is capable of doing.
Yes.
Like it's meant to move in this crazy way of like, what's 31, I think 31 vertebrae, something like that. Then show each one of them love if you can.
I love that. And really, like, yeah, it's our spine truly is the life force of our being, and the degree of everything. Yeah. So okay, clear. That's easy. I need two more that speak to you. That like this is so
Yeah.
It feels so simple and so much is expanding for me. I'm just like, I wouldn't have thought to just take that action. And I'm so freaking excited.
Yeah. We complicate things as humans. Is what we do. The brain is too complex, which is why I say we start with the body, because this is easier to work with than this thing. And we'll get there. So we do cat cow. Another great one I love is child's pose.
Okay.
All right. And that one is beautiful because it's so grounding. You think about all the points of contact that you have between you and the earth when you're in child's pose. Your knees are on the ground, the tops of your feet are there. You're reaching your hands out, your forehead is on the ground. You're just like in this very submissive, vulnerable state to really, you're just like, I just want to be right here and just relax. But on the physical side of it, it's great for your hips. It's great for your low back to decompress, like it stretches out. Right. When you're in that shape, it's easier to breathe down into the belly, the diaphragm, the ribs, and the chest. So now you can really get a full breath in using 100% of your lung capacity rather than just 85%. And you can also walk your hands in different directions and begin to stretch other parts of your body. You just freestyle a little bit when you're in a pose. So if you're here like that in child's pose, I might say walk your hands to the right hand on top of the left, and reach, and you're like, oh, I can breathe all into that right side. I didn't even know it was that tight. And you go to the other side and you're like, oh my God, this side's even tighter. And then you come back to neutral and you're like, wow, I feel amazing. Child's pose. Super easy, super simple. So
And
Yeah.
This is something I recently heard too, is we're born and we breathe from our bellies, like our not even lower, our belly, like our hips, our like root areas where we breathe.
The
And
root.
yeah, there's a degree of like, how do you breathe? Like breathe, like we're not asking, not necessarily asking that question to answer it. It's more of when I'm in that position, how can I breathe from my root and actually put air there? Like there's so much around breath that we just are so, we think it's one way when it's like, no, you can literally breathe into all of these different spaces and actually breathe in with your root, and that energy that's there is so like, that when I discovered that, I was like, I would have never put that piece together. And that's how we're born on the planet. Like that's how much we are taken from our birth innate way of being on the planet.
Yeah. That's even how we brought out. What do they tell them? Push,
Yeah.
breathe in, push. Biblically and so many other sacred texts refer to the breath as the breath of life. I want to invite life into my body.
That just took child pose to another level too, of like, how can I actually like intimately be involved with life and like let life breathe through me and let spirit breathe through me and all of that. And really, and even I think this is would be sacred tie in whatever, it's that God's name is never, there's no language for God's name, and it's essentially the sound of the breath, and being able to, every person who breathes is speaking the name of God, and that's just what it is. And so I had just heard that recently, and it was super, yeah, the intimacy that's there that we lack.
And it's so simple, and then that's for every pose that you take. Child's pose is an easy one because it allows you space to breathe. It provides the opportunity for you to take a deep, really beneficial breath every time you're there. It's a great way to start the morning. Great way to start the morning.
I feel that.
Grounded, loosening up the low back, rounding a little bit, reaching your arms out in front, and just breathing. From there, if you feel the need to make any other moves, by all means. And I think that's when we step into like maybe the third pose, which is downward facing dog.
Yep.
I might give people these three, honestly.
I
Child's pose.
yeah.
Start child's pose, go to cat cow, come to downward facing dog. And the next thing you do is you stand up and you're like, wow, what is this?
There's
So
10, 15 minutes of, yeah, the degree of what you just got taken care of in there, like, and the flow and ease, and it is such a bankrupting experience based on how we're trained to move. And it's like, oh, it's so simple, I don't need to do it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything. Like, we'll just skip it. Like, why does it really matter? And where it's like, no, it literally could alter what you experienced today. And not literally, or it might, like, it will alter your experience today. And that activating the energy in your spine, brain coherence, more breath, more oxygen, your cells are more oxygenated. Like, it is science. You're a science experiment. So there's a degree of like, be in the lab and bring that. There's no human has ever been harmed by more oxygen, water, or breath. It's just like more of that, please.
Like, what'd you do? I was breathing too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So that brings us to the next point. The fourth limb of yoga, pranayama, or breath work.
Okay.
Now, here's the cool thing about pranayama, the word. Prana means life force energy. So if it deals with breath work, and it's the life force energy, the pranayama, yama is like the stopping or the manipulation of life force energy.
I feel that.
So you're just finding new ways to throw energy throughout the body. Take a breath in. What happens when you hold that breath for a few seconds? And then what happens if you let that breath go slowly? What happens if you take faster, more rapid breathing? You get to play with your breath. But the cool thing is you do that after you've moved the body so that you can send that breath or that energy into those now open spaces. So you do all the shapes and poses, which is cool because in the shapes and poses, you should be breathing ideally. So you're already doing pranayama and having no realization of it, which is why exercise is so good for the mind. Is because you're already practicing pranayama. Like you're already practicing breath work because now when you're weightlifting, you're running, you're doing what you're swimming, you come up, you're inviting more prana, more life into the body. It's crazy how beautiful and how beneficial breath is for the mind, and then movement is for the body. So now you're already practicing yoga, bringing mind and body together.
Yes, yes, yes. I also, my brain, as you were talking to those that have the challenge with the word yoga and like see it in different contexts, I'm like, you're already doing it. So you can have a problem with pranayama all you want, and you're already doing it. So
Already
the,
done.
like, the degree of that is, and this the aspect of life force and having to be able to like actually see and manipulate it and be with it. And there's an experience too with having what for me a full kundalini rising, that energy being active in my body and being in a space of like, no, there's something in here that I didn't know existed, and I've got to be responsible for this in a way to function, because it is a force that we're not trained to harness, and it is very destructive if you don't know what to do with it. And it's wild how we have no frame for it whatsoever.
So this is why our frame is this vehicle that we drive, this body. That
Mm,
Kundalini energy lives within inside of us and is ready to rise up from the root to
mm,
the ground,
mhm,
and not to skip anything in between.
mm,
But if the root is like, if our lower three chakras, our root, our sacral, and our solar are more of the physical body, well, then we've got to make sure that we provide a safe and comfortable space for this energy to flow.
mm,
So that's why we take care of the physical body first, which is why I encourage people, hey, if you don't practice yoga on the mat, you don't practice asana, that's fine. Do something that
mhm.
encourages movement in a safe and mindful manner.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not
And
here to destroy the body. You're here
and
to
having
build.
those practices available gives more access to more life force, and being able to, that was something that was kind of showing up before too, this whole like, how do I get myself off the couch if I don't, because I think you had shared the example of the kids having all the energy at school, and then they go and work out or move their bodies, and then they're more chill, and there's such a energetic experience on the planet of burnout. So how do I move my body when I don't want to move? And so that experience of, you can actually cultivate life force, so that when you are in those spaces, it actually is getting more and more life force. You actually can cultivate and harvest this to be there for you in the future. And you can actually not push yourself, and you can actually just be with yourself and then
Mm,
through. So that's formulated in my brain too when I don't want to get off the couch.
come on.
And then also now my brain's just like the three poses. Like, you don't know what to do, just go, just go lay in child's pose and breathe. Go move your spine and go into downward dog if you want to. Like, there's so much there that's just do that. Like, why would you not? There's nothing.
For sure.
And it's actually too the experience of like, I can sit on the couch or I can sit in child's pose, which child pose is probably going to feel better at the end of the day than sitting on the couch anyway. So
We're
just,
not meant to sit in this position. Our
yeah.
body is not meant to have our knees above our hips where we are compressed and tight in the roots of
Yeah.
our, literally our pelvic floor. Like if we have an unstable, weak root system, can you imagine if a tree didn't have strong roots? The wind, even a nice would blow it over.
Mhm.
So the first thing we do is establish steady roots in any pose or in anything that we do.
Mm,
Establish steady roots, because if you go outside and try to cut down a tree, it's easier to cut it from the top. But if you try to like, you're trying to lift this thing from the roots, I mean, good luck.
yeah. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah.
So yeah, after we've practiced our asanas, we move into pranayama, which is breath practice, and that's your manipulation of the breath. You move into the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth limbs, which are typically, to sum it up, this is the meditative journey. The physical is the asanas and everything prior to that, because those are the things that we get to see in front of us and feel. But then once you get into pranayama, now you're starting to play with the unseen, because we all feel breath, but we don't necessarily know how to describe it. We experience it on the inside, but we're not really sure about how to like tell other people. You're not supposed to, you're not meant to explain to other people how to experience pranayama or what it should do for them. I say, hey, this is what this practice has been. Here are the intentions of this practice. Here is how to do the practice. Let me know how your experience is with the practice. You
Mm-hmm.
find different breath works, you find different breathing patterns that you're able to explore and to play around with. All right, it's new playground equipment, so you just got to go test it out. See
I
what it
love
does.
that just opened up so much for me, like different play because I have different breathwork practices I've used and enjoyed and just see them as different, like yeah, different playground equipment on that. I will share I've created this as a TikTok and it's kind of life hack. So I have a playlist on Spotify that has 3 songs and I do I had a friend recommend this practice, a different breathwork for each one. Um, or they have their own pattern. They go through like 3 different ones or 4 different ones and then meditate. And I essentially tied a song to each one so I don't have to pay attention to time. And the key for me is the first song in the playlist is one that I really, 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 really love that just gets me into my heart space. And so I just have to put the playlist on and then it gets me into my body. And then once I'm in the body, then my breathwork songs come on. And then from there, it ends with a meditative song too. So if I do the breath work, I'm usually like tapped in and then it just leads me into this meditative song. And so then I'm just like the little manipulative experience that I've cultivated in this playlist. I'm just like play and I'm like forced because it just feels good the whole time. I'm like, I don't want to stop what I got going on. I'm in my heart. I'm going to breathe and then I'll just bliss out and meditate. And so, yeah, the music is a big key for supporting me in that practice.
Come on, sound is powerful, ain't it?
Yeah, big time. Yep.
So that's the beauty of when you start to cultivate your own at-home practice with yoga is you get to personalize it for you. All right, 9 years of my practice, I did it. Well, let me say that I'm at year 9. But for the first 7, I was by myself. I still haven't really gotten a studio membership. Everything was pretty much self-taught. It's a self-care practice. So I did it at home. Occasionally, I would stop into a studio, take a drop-in class, learn a few new tricks and cues from other teachers, be in that communal space, the same way some of us pull up to church on Sunday, but we're supposed to do the work Monday through Saturday. This is what we do. You practice yoga, whatever that looks like, whatever part or the whole thing on your own. But when you come together, can you imagine what it's like when everybody in the room is taking care of themselves, worshiping in their own personal temple, but in the same shared space?
Mm-hmm.
Quite powerful.
Yes.
I get to see it multiple times a week. I love it.
Oh, that's dreams. That's hashtag dream goals there because that is not something I've got to experience really ever. And actually, there was a conversation I had with Greg around just the people he's around prioritize wellness and this experience of like my life has come to a space where it really is that because there is not a because or whatever. It's just you get into your body and you know what it feels like. And you know what alignment feels like, and you know what truth feels like, and you know what authenticity feels like, and you know what it feels like. And so then you go somewhere else and you're just like, that's like tasting sour milk. You're like, this doesn't feel good. And so for me, it's been, how do I navigate the love, care, and support for those that wouldn't necessarily have the privilege and access to have access to well-being or have access to these practices because we have a culture that's programmed us. So we have programs that you literally wouldn't eat if you don't keep doing the things. You don't have a house over your head. There's real locked in duality that is keeping people where they're at. So how do we expand out of that and really see the supportive practices of yoga are so tangible and so accessible, and there's some cloudiness around it, and it's also just it's been practiced for so long and it's so clear and it brings you back home to yourself and ultimately a pathway to well-being, which is years. Like I just know for my own self where I was at to where I am now, like it was 2-3 years. It takes season and time and being able to give up being different and simply how can I just build this in today and expand on that and grow on that and not have this, I don't know, this is the privileged projection of yoga and being in all the, flexible moves, it's like, I'm not in the flexible moves. So to actually show up is so disheartening to my brain and body and heart. And so it's hard to keep going because I'm like, well, I'm not doing it. I want to be better. I want to be able to be flexible. I don't want to hurt. So it can be hard to come back if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's what we get caught in that duality of the mind and body. The mind feels like the body's supposed to be doing more.
Mm-hmm.
Can come together in the same spot and be like, hey, not only can you do this, but do you want to do this? Like, should you do this? I like to say, just because I can doesn't mean I should. I'm able to do standing back tucks and handstands and all kinds of other fun stuff, but like, should I? At this very moment, do I need to do that? Is my body asking for that? Or is my mind feeling like it needs to perform? And when we're able to realize that these two sometimes don't work together, that's when we realize that we are the one who has ascended duality, that
Mhm.
we're not the mind or the body. We are the one aware of both. And we say, hey, I'm just here to bring us together, mind, body, and soul.
And see choice in that too, where it's not one or the other. It's I have a choice. I can choose. And it is what it is. It's just simply a choice. Well,
Yeah.
both work. There's no shame, whatever. And I get to practice no matter what I choose.
Yeah.
And that's the way of beingness around it is expanding for me. And it is something that just is. It's not, we've defined it as such a small window. And it's no different than the air we breathe, is what I'm hearing.
No different. Your job is to take care of the self. So that means if the mind doesn't feel like it wants to do things, but the body's asking for it, right? When we just want to sit on the couch and not do anything, we say, hey, let's honor the body and what it's asking for right now. And we give it to it. The
Mm.
body feels like, I don't know if I really want to like go that far, but the mind's like, screw it, let's go for it. Let's honor what the body is feeling today because we don't want to injure ourselves. We don't want to injure this vehicle, right? If I ain't got enough gas in the tank, why am I trying to go 50 miles down the road?
And I just see a picture when you say that too, because there's a degree of like, I don't have gas in it, but I'm going to push my car because I need to get A to B. And it's like, how about we find a way to get you gas in your car first before pushing the thing? And there's so much opening up in my heart space when you're speaking too. Just there's a lot opening up as you're speaking, and just the freedom and all of that.
That's the beauty of it, and that's what this practice is for. When you start to make that connection for yourself and say, okay, I know what my body needs, and I'm a little more aware of what my mind needs too. So then I can choose the right breath practice for my mind, or I
Mm.
can choose the right movement pattern for my body.
Yeah.
And then when I get into my meditation, because now I've taken care of the body with my movement, I've taken care of the mind with this breath work. Well, then with those two finding a balance, sense of stillness and ease, comfort and stability. Oh, now we can go
Okay.
further.
I just like the degree of whatever you just unlocked to like piece this together and simplify it for me. Breath work with my brain is like that just unlocked a whole new world of like, no, breath work is for my brain. And that I don't know why that simplicity of that equation was like just turned me on to all of that so much more. And then listening to my body and like, what does my body want? What does my body want? And being able to be like, no, we're going to do what my body wants, and being a commitment to that, and then caring for the actions that need to take so that my brain is in agreement with my body, because it's just simply not going to be. It's a ego slave labor trade practice experience. Like it is the pharaoh of my human. And so
Mm,
how do I give that what it needs? And what you're showing me with breath work just there was just like, oh, I didn't even conceptualize. I always will say too, like, and he actually did this when right before I added you in, was like, I know if I stop and breathe, I will feel more, my consciousness will be more in my body. And so I can like have this experience of like, I feel all this energy up here and I want to bring it down. So bringing it down is something I'll do. I just didn't conceptualize the brain and breath. Whatever simplicity, just my brain's still chewing on that one. I was like, thank you so much. Cause I just, the whole world just opened up in simplicity. So thank you. Yes, the
it's the
simple
complexity of the practice.
complexity. Oh my gosh, simplexity. Thank you. That is a word I needed in my vocabulary. Thank you.
Yeah, I adopted that from someone. I forgot who it was. They gave me that, and I said, "Whoa, complexity. That's good."
You sure it wasn't Greg? Because that might be a Greg
It
word.
may have been,
Yeah.
Greg. He's always coming.
Bare maximum is another one he says that I really like.
He's good for that, and I love that too, because that's the yoga practice. I take that same mentality into my yoga. How can I get the most out of doing the least?
Mhm. It's called brilliance, is how I see it.
Right.
It's called being a
So
genius.
yeah.
I'm brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, so that's in short, that's the yoga practice. The eighth limb is samadhi, which is bliss. And this is where, okay, I'm gonna share this with you because you get it. So the fifth limb, to simplify it, is sense withdrawal. So you step away from the physical senses because you're taking care of the body and the mind. So you're not really fixated on everything else. And you're in a comfortable space around you. So you don't have to worry about distractions and people and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So you say, okay, well, I don't need to think about what I hear and smell and see and feel because, like, I know I'm safe. As I go in, you find one object to focus on,
Mhm.
just one.
Mhm.
This is the sixth and seventh limb kind of combined, is where you lock in and you say, I'm going to choose one thing. I always advise the breath because you've already been doing it
Mhm.
since the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth limb. You've just been thinking about the breath. You've been focused on the breath. You've been playing with the breath. So it's easy to just stay with the breath. So with the fourth limb, you've already been playing around. The fifth and sixth one, you just drop it. I'm not here to control the breath anymore. I'm just here to be with it. And
Mhm.
notice the subtle changes within the body.
Mhm.
How does it impact me on the subtle level, on energetic level?
Mhm.
Physical body, I know that it's impacted, but the energetic body also starts to have some reactions. And I'm here to
Mhm.
watch those too.
Mhm.
Then, after you've locked in on that one thing for so long, you then realize that you are no different than that one thing. That's the unification.
Mhm.
That's yoga. The hands come
Mhm.
together. That is
Mhm.
yoga.
Mhm.
You now realize I am no different than you or the things around me.
Mhm.
Universal oneness, this connection with that which is above and all around, completely encapsulating me, that I am a part of this vast galaxy, that
Mhm.
me, one of 8 billion people, human beings, is on one of 9 planets circling around one of billions of stars. And I feel this connection. Whoa, bliss. What am I worried about? What am I fixated on? Those things don't matter right now. I have reached this point in which I have truly experienced what it's like to be myself with a capital S.
Mhm.
Now, here's the thing. This is not meant to be, you're not meant to stay here for forever.
Mhm.
This is a short-lived experience that happens momentarily because it brings to your awareness what is, not what's to come. This is heaven on earth. This is samadhi, the bliss. You get there and you're like, oh, this is possible.
Mhm.
I, okay, I can make that connection.
Mhm.
Sweet. I know what it takes to get there. Now I go back out into the world and repeat the cycle. How do I interact with the world? Step
Mhm.
one, first limb. So now you're back at the 8 limbs. You're back at the very beginning
Mhm.
because I made this connection with that which is above me. Now I'm like, oh, hold on, y'all, hold on. Let me practice ahimsa, nonviolence. This is one of the yamas. How I can be nonviolent towards you and towards creation, towards animals and plants and beings. So that way I can continue to keep this unified feeling. I can
Mhm.
practice yoga as a lifestyle, not
Mhm.
just poses on the mat.
Mhm.
Because the whole thing was about me taking away uh these layers of division that made me feel as if I was any different than you,
Mhm.
that I as if my mind was not a part of my body,
Mhm.
as if that the body collectively is not all the same. You know, in the Bible they talk about the church is the body of Christ, right?
Mhm.
So our job individually is to take care of the temple, take care of your own, make the unification between your own mind and body so that you can become one.
Mhm.
And then if we all become one, where we're like the cells that when they come together, they make a femur,
Mhm.
but individually they were just cells.
Mhm.
Or when all those cells come together, they make the heart,
Mhm.
but individually they were just cells.
Mhm.
Our job as a collective is to take care of ourselves first, so that way self can come together and we
Mhm.
can truly experience the presence of God. where 2 or 3 gather in agreement, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where 2 or 3 gather in alignment,
Mm-hmm.
where 2 or 3 have already taken care of themselves and now they come together and they've already experienced this unified oneness and they say, oh, do you know what it's like? Yes. Oh, so let's do this together. And if it's just 2 or 3, and we know that the presence of God is in the midst of them, well, what happens if all 8 billion?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's too much. What if it's just 5 or 10? Maybe it's just a neighborhood. Maybe it's a community.
Mm-hmm.
We start to slowly realize that the collective started with all of our cells individually becoming a collective organ, bone, and physically a body and a mind. And that was okay. Well, let me bring those 2 together. Now we have a collection. Sweet. Now let me connect with you. Now we have a collection. Oh, we getting somewhere. We getting somewhere.
I see synergy too, where it just, why would you not want to be? Like, what would you choose differently? Like, this is what, how could you choose something different than this? This is the best thing on the planet. Why would alternative? What's the alternative? Like, there's no alternative. Is this like all the time? Yes, please, more.
Is this all I want from is this all I feel like I'm deserving of? No, it's so much bigger than me. Like, cool. Then let me just do my part, which is to first take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
That I realize I don't have to save the world. It's not my job. The beauty is I'm just supposed to do what I've been called to do, which is take care of myself. And from there, maybe I'll begin to have some guidance, because if a cell doesn't form into a cell, it might not even follow the DNA, the genetic code in which it has been given, in order for it to complete the task that it was destined for.
Yes, 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 yes. The degree of the sorry, the words that are coming through is rape and pillage of the DNA we're born on this planet with, and the DNA that we're divorced from. And then like it's just, and this is what we were made to be and do. And the privilege to be able to see it, and this experience, and this wave, which I really see is happening in just the alignment of everything, is a massive space to be able to lean into this. And that actually is simple, and it's upside down from everything we've been taught. And when you get into that simple space, how expansive it truly is, and compounding it truly is, and that there's a benevolent energetic force already working this all together. You just get to partner with, like, you don't have to do it. Like, it's just like you get to set everything down and just participate in receiving what's already done.
Let me co-collaborate with the creator.
Yeah.
We
Please.
already won.
Yeah. Yes.
So let me say, okay, well, cool. If I'm one of 8 billion people on this planet, how do I want to remember? How do I want to bring us back together?
Remembered. That and then as a member. Yeah. That took
we already are together. We just don't remember that we are together.
Yes.
We felt that we were divided. Children don't really see that division until they learn it. And then they forget that. And it's now our job to remember. To go be like children, and to go outside and play, and to interact with the world around us, to listen to our energetic, like, intuition, to laugh and joke and to have fun, to learn and to unlearn, to take care of ourselves, and eventually come back around and say, hey, let's come together. Let's do this together. I like playing I know how to play with myself, and I know how to play with my own toys and my action figures. I know how to do all that stuff, but like, it's not as fun unless I can do it with you.
Yeah. And the safety that is there, that I've seen, like, in my own self getting created, and what each person, like, when you do have these embodied practices, you get to come together and have safety and trust and that in your own self, and you actually know what your body wants, desires. And what we've had is this like codependent dynamic where you get into these places when you do come together, there's things that maybe don't work because you've sacrificed your own self and you haven't been able to stay in your own alignment, and then you can create these connections that do harm you, where that's what we've lived. And then now when it's like you actually are tapped into your intuition, you are tapped into your spidey sense, so to speak, then you're able to know how to weave and go and be in this space, and you know what truth feels like, so you go towards that. You know what wellness feels like, so you go towards that. It's just simple energetic proof that you just can feel in your bones, and it's so different that you don't have access to that when you haven't done that experience and that practice. And for me, with my experience, I had done like a 2-year self-discovery journey, and I had no connection to yoga. I didn't even know what I was doing. So to have that Kundalini energy come up, I didn't find like 3 or 4 months after until that was actually what it was. I had no reference. And so while I did have self-care practices, it just wasn't a frame that I lived within. And so this kind of catching up to everything and like, oh yeah, let me learn about this. I've never done yoga. I've never done this. There's like, oh, there's actual supportive things for this. It just does not exist in the Western world. And they've got a bunch of opinions about this word, and this, which is bankrupting and so heartbreaking, beyond heartbreaking for me, is to see it such a divine union and that Christ within and that energy, and to have it be projected on as Satan demons experience is so devastating. Because I'm like, y'all, it's here, like it's happening, and we're gonna miss the boat, and like I'm gonna have a good time whether it's with you or not, and I would love for you to get it, and at the same time I'm gonna bliss out on my life and enjoy it for what it is, because I'm not promised tomorrow, and every moment is so intense, and I do not want to ever take a breath for granted when with what I've been through in a near-death experience. Like I even just like so often I'm like my skin, I'm like, oh, like I just, everything is so abundant, and I don't want to waste anything ever again, because I just took it for granted before.
And you know, this is a great practice for gratification or gratitude. Let me encourage you in this. If you ever have some difficulty finding something to be grateful for, just learn about the body. Learn about the physical body and how incredibly complex it is, and it does not require any energy on your part. Like it literally works for you. It always has and always will.
I'm like this whole time I'm like thinking about my colon. What's like it's definitely haven't been thinking about my colon while we're talking here, and it's still doing its job. It's done. It's falling off on the clock today. Like
You imagine if I had to sit here and pump my heart all damn day?
yeah, exactly.
The minute I go take a shit, I might forget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If you
If
didn't do
my
your breath work
lungs,
exercises, yeah, like
if my body didn't just naturally breathe, because it's like I'm going to invite the breath of life and I'm going to release breath of life to the plants now, and then we're going to do this energetic exchange back and forth between each other without having to think about it. Like that's nice. Thank you, body. Now that I realize how much you work for me, how have I complicated things for you? That's something to meditate on. That can take some, that right there might humble you, because you realize, wow, with the body having worked so diligently to keep me around, and yet I still continue to make it hard, and it's so resilient against my efforts. Wow.
it's just waiting for me to partner with it. Like it does not hold anything against me.
No,
It's just here, ready when ready and waiting.
inviting you.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, please come alongside me. The cool part about it, it took 9 months for this thing to get put together. 9 months. 9 months in darkness led to, at least for my case, 28 years of life in the light. 9 months. That's it. That's short. That's so short in
Like
comparison.
nothing. That's
Blink of an eye.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then boom, this physical body went from just 2 cells into self.
There's some potency showing up in the world of the things that make a baby, the energetic forces, and that whole world, and that just showed up of the potency, and that just took my brain in another direction. That was like, oh, I didn't consider the potency of one and one come together, like what that holds, the potential, like that's the fucking universe right there. Like it's
Literally,
literally, yeah.
literally just wrapped up into 2 cells that we so often freely give away
Yeah.
and dishonor, as if it doesn't have literally the key to life.
Yeah.
This is why, one of the practices in the yamas is brahmacharya, celibacy, but not just sexually.
Mm.
I don't, and celibacy is like only the English word that helps translate it. It's really the honoring your vital life force energy. That's
Mm.
what brahmacharya is. A mindful use of your energy
Mhm.
to say, if I don't feel like hanging out with people today because my energy just wants to be directed towards something else, let me honor that.
Mhm.
That's celibacy in your energy, your brahmacharya.
Thank you for that. I'm very protective and won't take action and feel so bad. And I just really tapped into my body and listened. And I didn't consider that as actually a celibacy of my energy, because there's a degree of like, I don't want to spend it on this at this point in time. There's a very, very clear thing. I just had no context for that actually being an act of celibacy also. That's
Just
exciting.
intentional use of your energy.
Yeah, yeah. And how much we again, this words coming through is bastardized. There's so much language in the Western world that's like we say celibacy and it's like don't no, like there's just a degree of like it's a just breathe. It's okay. Like,
Facts.
like you'll be
Facts.
okay.
I'm not going to shame you for the fact that you've misused your energy. No,
Yeah,
we just,
yeah,
when we know better, we do better. And now you say, okay,
yeah,
I probably can be a little more mindful of how I invest my energy.
yeah.
Investment.
That's what I
Investment.
yeah.
It's never a spend. You never spend or waste. You do invest. It's just
Mhm.
the return on investment isn't always what we expected.
Yeah. And really see what the buckets we can put it in. There's certain things that you're going to put something in that's not going to have the same return on investment. That there is still a degree of maybe it's rest. I think of, chunked out on my phone. That's still rest and it's still going to do something for me. And it's still kind of an investment. And the return on investment is not exactly the same at all as moving my body for the same 15 minutes. It's a very different return on investment. And there's just so much opened up there. Oh, so good. Okay. So I'll talk to you forever. And with that, if people want more of Trevor, where do they go? And uh,
Yeah.
how do they find more?
Yeah. So follow me on Instagram. That is my main social media platform at just like Trevor.
Just
I've
like
had the same name since high school. So
I love it,
rock
love
with that. And I also want to say, on there you can find a link for Shopify, right? And on there is a digital product. There are two of them. One of them is just the foundational flow where you'll find the essential poses. It's a free download. The other one is the ebook where it's the same price as a drop-in yoga class, but you really get everything we've talked about, but in depth. You get
Mm.
the video teachings, you get text to read, but it's like Cliff Note style. I
Mhm,
don't have you reading a whole chapter. I'm like, no, let me teach you the chapter, but you got the Cliff Notes to the side.
mhm, mhm.
And alongside that, one of my favorite parts is chapter 3. Over 50 of the poses, and you get a little, like, what is it, a GIF, a GIF? I don't know how you pronounce the thing. You have that, and you get to see me kind of model the action of the asana with blocks. So I'm showing you how to use the props. And underneath you have the benefits, the instructions of how to do it, like cue points, and then variations if you like to try something new. But my key is like you take it one at a time.
You
And
50 of these.
yeah, over 50 of them, and they're categorized. So here are back bends and heart openers. Here are restorative poses. Here's for the hips. Here, like here's core. Like I broke it down. You make your own flow. Build it
Trevor,
out.
the energy you put into this creation, the 50 of those GIFs and the intention and creation that's needed to create that, like I'm just like, if it's the same price as a drop in for yoga, I'm just like the value of what your energy that went into this masterpiece. I'm just, yeah, I'm like moved by the commitment you had to create that and the value that's there and the thoughtfulness around there and to acknowledge my own part. I'm like, I don't want a PDF. And now that you're explaining that, I'm like, I want a 50 PDF. I want to see the 50 different things and play around and create. And there's so much there so much there. So thank you for expanding on that because that you just sold me on that one big time.
Hey, that's what it's here for, and I could have, most people are like, well, I can't believe you're pricing it at that price. And I was like, I want people to have this. It's not about me. It's
Yeah,
bigger than me.
yeah.
The finances will come. That's energy. That's the energetic exchange. I'm
Mhm.
okay with that. And the next part of that is as people practice and they study this interactive ebook and they get familiar with me as their teacher, well, the next platform is coming very soon. And that is where I'll host classes, not just asana, pranayama, meditations, Dharma, which is the spiritual philosophical teachings, but I'll cover a vast array of practices, and because it's universal language, it's universal truths. I'm here to learn from whoever. I want to be a student. And if I have students who are willing to learn, well, then I'm willing to teach. And that also allows me to invite other friends of mine, other community members, experts in their field, so that they have a platform to also offer their expertise, because I have not learned all these things on my own. I am supported by such a genuine community of people who are aligned and who are aimed to really strive for wellness across the board. So this platform is not just for me to say, look at me, I'm your teacher. No, 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 no. This was a vision I had, so I could invite other people to help witness to everyone, to say, hey, this is how we take care of ourselves in the sanctuary. I'll give that's part of the name. I'll slide that in there, the sanctuary.
I am loving that, and just want to honor your heart to fulfill your vision when you do have the heart, when you do have that humble servant heart leading into these spaces, because there is such a fear of being projected on as trying to create the platform and trying to create the thing and the name and the I have it in my own world. And it's like, this whole thing crumbles if we do that to me. So like, we've got to keep this as a community, a place where all of us come together from equal spaces, equal, like we can grow together. And if we put me on a platform, I lose that. And I don't want to be there. I want to be with you all. And so that resistance around what can get created culturally when people do step up in that leadership, because it's so rare. And so thank you for creating a platform to call people up into that and give that space to be co-leaders together, to be this space. And like, we're all making it up at the end of the day. The second that we think we got it figured out, like we already are old paradigm. So like, just walk away from that and let's play. And like, I'm just like, let's play and create together is what I see. So thank you for literally leaping in and doing that with me today, because that's exactly what we did. And I'm so expanded, and even just forever and always, thank you.
It's a pleasure. I want to see us be our best versions of ourselves, especially because you got we hold a special place for each other. We are in that community. And if namaste means the light in me honors and loves the light in you, I want to see you shine bright.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel that deeply. Also, I'm gonna just put a plug out there. There's a piece of me that wants some Trevor merch. So if you ever create anything out there, there's a part of me that wants to own something that represents. So the influencer in me sees the creator in you. So I'm just gonna let that out.
Don't worry. That's you speaking on something I've already had kind of revealed to me today. So I appreciate that.
Okay. I'm like, I'm just gonna rep all my friends. That's all I'm gonna do from now on. Just rep my
That's what we're
friends.
here to do. Here to support each other.
Exactly. I love you so big. Thank you. And we'll
I
talk to
love
you
you
soon. See you
too.
soon. Much love.
Yes, much love.
See you. Bye.